Oh, he's not here this week. I knew he wasn't.
Supposed to kiss the ring.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting of August 19th, 2014. This is the third meeting of the month, which is a sewer committee meeting. Roll call, please.
Okay, we have 3 selectmen present tonight. Judy is away, ill, can't be here this evening, and Steve is away, so we will handle the duties ourselves. And we also have the town administrator and town council here as well.
Announcements. Mr. Titlebaum.
Yes, on Thursday afternoon, I believe at 2 o'clock, out at Municipal Maintenance, there's going to be a rededication of the Tony Fernandes flagpole. Tony Fernandes served for years in the town's municipal maintenance department, was the department head for a long time, and there's a flagpole out there in Gardens in his honor. I know that Selectman Whiteside and Mrs. Slavin were out there earlier this week working to get the gardens ship-shape for the rededication. So that'd be a nice thing for people to turn out to. And I had one more, and I put it on my phone.
A likely story.
Yeah. And that is, we're pleased to announce and congratulate Kim Shaver-Hood on obtaining her doctorate in education from Northeastern University. Quite an accomplishment.
Well, good for her.
And now I guess we have to call her doctor.
Dr. Shaver. Patrick?
All right, yeah, there's nobody else to go to, right?
I'm
All
afraid
right,
that's
so
it.
I got something interesting they put in the announcement folder, and this is really kind of an interesting one because it says, volunteers needed, basically, but it says it in a different way here, which is something I think we should point out. It says volunteer opportunities.
Correct.
See, normally we're begging for people to come and fill these spots and to try to help out. But, if people looked at this maybe as an opportunity, instead of, oh no, I got to go help out the town, my goodness. Maybe more people would want these things because they are opportunities, are they not? So I think that's a good word. I think it's a great word that they used here, opportunities. And these are opportunities. And we have opportunities on the Affordable Housing Trust, the Bike Path Committee, the road, Board of Road Commissioners, Commission on Disabilities, Community Economic Development, Community Preservation, Conservation Commission. This is, you can read this faster, Peter, probably. Council on Aging Board of Directors, Historical District Commission, Historical Commission. I don't know why those aren't the same. Library Board of Trustees, Marine Resources Commission, Minot Forest Committee, Open Space Committee, Recycling Committee, Cultural Council, and the Zoning Board of Appeals, Associate Member. So these are really good opportunities for somebody to get involved and be part of your community. I mean, help your community out. I sat on lots of these boards. I think we all have over the years, and you really are elevated and enlightened about where you live and what you're doing and what kind of community we have when you sit on one of these boards. So use it as an opportunity. Everybody, come on down and help out. That's all I have.
That's it. Today we're at a meeting for Mass DOT. They are going to be doing most likely next spring actually, but they're doing the bids now for Route 28, starting at the Rochester line, coming down, stopping just before Toby Road where the Walmart construction will be, picking up just after that, and going down to where Route 6 comes into Route 28. They'll be resurfacing that road for that area there. They will not be widening it, but they will be doing curbing, and they will be doing stormwater, which works into what we're doing. That's all I have for today.
All right, next is citizens' participation.
Okay, next.
All right, next appointments.
Oh, hold on. Bob did. Mr. White is here as a citizen.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Bob.
Good evening.
It's that time of year again, huh?
New sneakers?
New sneakers. I'm not saying anything,
Yeah,
Bob.
stay
You
away
said
from
that-
any all of that.
We're staying away from that.
Yeah.
They match the red shorts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Mr. White.
I'm here, and I was hoping Sharon Boyer would be here also. Last year and the year before that, and the year before that, Sharon and I were the co-coordinators for the Veterans Day events as Wareham experienced them. Several days ago, I emailed to you this letter. There's one error in that letter that I can think of, it's obvious, and that is the fact that we now know who controls the community room, and I have had direct contact with Derek on that issue. Historically, Sharon and I have produced a Veterans Day parade, a ceremony, and a luncheon. I only want to introduce those issues again because as far as we're concerned, we will move forward with those, but we need to know, and I hope that we can be on the agenda next week or as soon as possible, regarding the support that the town is going to provide going forward on this year's events. We are a $0 based budget. We depend completely on donations from the town for food, or not the town, but the town's people for food and volunteerism. And thus far, we've been able to make out fine. The town of Wareham's also provided not financial support, but in-kind support in terms of janitorial support, opening of buildings, electricity, heat, if necessary, and equipment. So I would like to be able to give you a chance to cogitate on that, and perhaps we can get on the agenda next week to be more specific about what the town fathers see as a program moving forward this coming year. This year, Veterans Day is on the 11th of November, of course, and that's a Wednesday, I believe. So thank you, and I hope you'll
Thank
take
you,
it under
Mr. White.
consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Sullivan, you take the information Mr. White has, and will you be ready for next week for some answers?
Okay.
Same as we did last year,
Okay,
and I think that would be the simple answer on it.
thank you.
All right, so next is appointments and reappointments. We have none.
Yeah, we do.
We do. No, there's not. It's not in here. It is not here.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's next week, not this week.
Yeah, it's not here. It's not here.
It's next week, Angela.
Yeah.
She said she can't be here next week. Is it possible that we can get it on today?
It's not on the agenda, so we can't. You know what I mean? It's not here.
Well, let me
You know it's under appointments?
just ask counsel on that one.
There isn't anything to give you.
Well, we have a blank agenda slot that says
Appointments and reappointments.
appointments/reappointments, but we don't have the committee listed. Is that going to matter?
Okay.
So we can go ahead.
Okay, do you know when the term expires?
No.
Okay.
So, do you know, Angela, do you have the, anything on it at all, when it expires or anything? You come
She
prepared?
came, yeah.
Come on down.
We're not, but she is. That's always a
Well,
good
come on
sign.
down then. If you come prepared, you come down.
Not my copy.
Awesome.
Yeah, he'll,
I have the secretary's copy.
Oh, that's perfect, see? Ah, look at that. All right.
There you go.
Come on down.
maybe have something to make a motion with.
Maybe. Hold
Yeah,
on.
maybe.
Yeah,
It is
so
scheduled for the 26th.
I certify that the town at 8:13. It doesn't say when the
Sue
appointment
involved in
ends. I don't know what the
Yeah, we've
appointment
done
date
stuff on
ends.
sewer nights.
I don't know what the term is.
Hold on.
3 years.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter
there
because
any way to
it
find out?
depends on if it's filling an existing void.
Yeah, are you filling a spot on somebody, or she is? Do you know when that term expires by any chance?
2017.
And,
Mac Finney resigned.
These terms typically
June
expire
of-
on June 30th.
June of 2017? All right, we'll try it. We'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
All
Peter,
right.
while they're doing that, can you look up and see what we have on the Finney on town website? We may have to, we can vote, we may not be able to vote the term expiration.
Yeah, if I can,
Yeah, check the website. See if it comes up.
Trying to check the town website on this thing is challenging at best. Wait a minute. I guess somebody's live over, there are two people live with laptops. Why am I going blind here?
Why don't we go ahead
Mr. Sullivan, can you look
and
up
ask her
the
to,
Historic Commission on there? See what,
Patrick, why don't you go
see what
ahead
members are listed and what
We
terms
have it
exist?
sitting
and
in
ask her
front
to
of
tell about herself.
Yeah, you want to tell us about yourself?
Sure.
Go
You
ahead.
have my piece of paper now.
Yeah.
You have all my notes.
Is your cell phone here?
Yes, it is.
It is? Okay, well, go for it.
Okay, my name is Pam Foley. And I've been involved with as a volunteer for the Historical Society. I care very much for the opportunity to be able to serve
What was it?
our town in the commission. Okay, that's it.
Okay.
I was just explaining to Clerk Tropiano that there are at least 3 vacancies. Some appear to expire next year, but the one that I think we should stick you with is the one that expires in 2017. That way we keep you hostage for the longest possible amount of time.
Sure.
Any-
I'd gladly accept that opportunity.
Any
you
questions?
say that
Mr.
now.
Any questions, Mr. Titlebaum?
None at all. Thank you for stepping up, and thank you for putting up with our slightly confused process tonight.
Not really.
Okay,
Mr.
thank you.
Tropiano?
I have no problems.
Okay, great.
All set, thank you.
All right, I move we appoint to the Historical Commission Pam Foley, 53 Main Street, Wareham, to a term to expire June 30th, 2017.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Tropiano, second by Mr. Titlebaum. No questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 3-0-0. You'll need
you.
to
Can I
stop
keep
by the
this?
clerk's office. You have to go upstairs to the Board of Selectmen to get paperwork, then down to the clerk to get sworn in.
Okay,
And you also have an ethics test you have to take as well. And make
A
sure you
what?
get ethics
text.
okay.
test as well.
When you get sworn in at the clerk's office, they will give you the information to go online with the Secretary of the Commonwealth's website to take the state ethics examination. It's basically open book, and you can't flunk it, because if you get the question wrong, they don't let you go any further until you answer it right. So even the slowest among us will get it on the 4th shot, so.
Okay, okay, will do.
All right.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you for
We
stepping up.
appreciate you we're glad you chose to take this opportunity.
Yes, it is an opportunity, and I thank you for voting me in.
Awesome. Thank
Can I
you.
make a comment?
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you for taking care of that, where Pam won't be here next week. I wanted to mention also that, as you noted, there are 2 other openings on Wareham Historical Commission. From time to time, people travel on business, and then I'm still left with a quorum problem, because it's going to be at minimal numbers, even with Pam joining us. There were 2 other applicants that put in their applications for Historical Commission as a second choice. These 2 applicants were invited to come to this last meeting, and I don't think it's a policy that people attend to be appointed, but I think it was a suggestion that people come to the committee meetings. In any case, I just would like to encourage people to please attend the meetings so they can see if it's a good fit for them, because we will be down a quorum number because of the fact that we have demolition delay hearings once a month, and possibly twice if we have a special situation come up. We would need that quorum number, so I'm just asking respectfully that people please consider following up on those applications.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. All right, next we're going to sewer business, discussion and possible vote on agreement of MOO. Come on down. Hey, guy.
Good evening,
Look
everyone.
like you've been in the sun.
We're doing, today we're out on Gibbs Ave. We're redoing all the manhole covers. The town is doing a repave there with a 5-year moratorium. And we have covers that are really loose and some, actually structures that are broken. So we decided to just go ahead and do them all. So I got to be out in the sun today, working the jackhammer and some bobcat and different things, and actually out there sweating a little bit, and it was quite an interesting day. We get done around 5:30.
Good for you.
Interesting day. Yeah, it was exciting. It was exciting. I liked it. I had on the Housing Authority, I went out to their pump station and did an assessment and assessed the manholes, the wet well, and things of that sort. And I sat with Bob and explained to him and explained to him all the different things that I found. So I gave him a list, and I also gave a list to Jackie, and we talked about it, and we come to some really good understandings of what we'd like to accomplish. And so Bob put together an MOU, and I have a copy of it, and I don't know if you have it, but I'd like to give it to the board. They probably have copies for the board, and I think it's very appropriate, and I think it's a good deal. We also got from Mr. Sullivan the actual costs for our employees, with all the direct, indirect, the whole 9 yards. So we have that. They've agreed to that figure. So we think it's a good thing. I think it's a win-win situation for everybody. If nothing else, I at least got to know a little about their pump station and what it's doing. We see some things that we'd like to go in and take care of for them, and then do a long-term maintenance of it for them. If you want a quick overview of the things that I saw, we talked about the alarms, installing an alarm system that would be able to monitor, to answer any type of problems, and of course that's all at their cost. We've done a preliminary, but we're going to do a complete inspection evaluation to let them know what they have, so they can make long-term planning for their budget. We're going to clean out the wet wells and the manholes. They're all full of some baby wipes, things of that sort. And I hate to say baby wipes, but wipes. I use that general term, but wipes and a lot of non-dispersibles, we call them now. If it's not toilet paper, which disperses, then it doesn't belong there. So along with that, we're going to do an educational program, talk to the residents, educate them as to why they shouldn't do that, get them actively involved. So that's going to be part of this, and we'll go ahead and do that, and then take up the maintenance of it. We're pretty excited about it, and we don't see any issues, but of course, bring it in front of the board. If you see anything or have any questions, we'd be more than happy to address them, and I'm sure Bob will be able to address anything you have at his end.
Mr. Paulides?
I'd just like to say I appreciate Mr. Campina's time and effort. He's the expert in this area, but as you know, as we explained in the past, the Commonwealth, when they created housing authorities, they gave us the authorization to work with the town and enter into agreements with the town to pay for services. And this is a basic memorandum of understanding by which we would agree to reimburse the town for all costs, indirect, direct, overhead, administrative, so that the town would be out of pocket nothing. All the fringe benefits, health insurance, pension, whatever it is, you calculate it, pass it on to us based on the hours they service the sewer pumping station at Redwood Village, and we'd reimburse you all costs. I think it's a win for both of us. We get prompt, courteous, expert service, and you get another source of revenue.
Mr. Titlebaum?
I just have two questions, which are pretty much pro forma. The first one is the town council. Are you okay with the form of this agreement?
I'm just seeing it for the first time now.
Read it.
It's about 3 sentences long, so while you're perusing it, I'll ask town administrator, you're aware of what's proposed here, what's involved, and you're comfortable with it as well?
Mr. Campina asked me to come up with a formula for some of the directs, indirects, and the pension costs, of which I came up with, showed him the formula as well, so for any future calculations, and then what he already has. So, yeah, I'm satisfied that, and those revenues go back to the enterprise fund itself. And even though it's the pension benefits with the indirect that the town takes, it should actually go to the enterprise fund, since we're already calculating it on the other side as a revenue. So,
Yeah. Then you assess the enterprise.
yeah.
That's all I had, thanks.
Mr. Tropiano?
Okay, I want to Actually, thank Guy, because he did a good job here, and all you guys to come together to kind of work this process out. I think it really goes a long way for both of us to help sort of alleviate a problem that you're having and one that we are capable of handling. And Guy did a really good job. I saw all the numbers and things and how we put it together, and the town administrator came together, and it really worked out pretty good. And they've actually come up with an actual number, which is a real number that you can touch and feel instead of just something arbitrary. So I think this is going to work out really well for everybody concerned, and it's going to really solve a big problem for everybody. So good job. I mean, everybody did a great job on this. The other thing I want to say, just which is sort of off track for 1 second, is, you know, wipes. You mentioned wipes, and that's a problem for everybody.
Yes, it is.
There are flushable wipes. There are flushable wipes that break down just like toilet paper, that don't cause these kinds of problems. Am I not correct? I know, because I've used them.
I don't know. Let me tell you what I know. There's no such thing as a flushable wipe. What we talk about is dispersion. And what happens to toilet paper, if you take some toilet paper, drop it in water, the water will turn the color of that paper. It's instantly dissolved. Now, it will break down. It could be 6 hours, it could be 10 hours, it could be 15 hours, it could be 20 hours. While it's breaking down, it's traveling down a process through pipes, manholes, pumps, and that's where they become a problem. And every package does say biodegradable, it says flushable. So most things are flushable. I can show you some things at the plant that have been flushed that'll blow you away. But the question is dispersion. Does it disperse immediately?
Okay.
And it doesn't interfere with the actual pumping of a product. So
All right, so this is your opportunity to get that out there and make sure you let people know maybe they shouldn't be flushing any of these things.
the only thing that's flushable is toilet paper.
Okay.
That's it.
So that's-
Nothing else goes down the toilet. I mean,
So there
absolutely
you
nothing
go.
else. And that's,
So I brought that up because I know there are that they have such a thing, and it says flushable wipe on
Absolutely.
the side, but obviously that's not a correct use, and it should be noted, and everybody should know that they shouldn't be doing that to the
so
system.
thank you so much for
Yeah.
bringing that up, because it's very, very important. We made thousands of copies. We're actually going to homes for the elderly, the nursing. We're going to daycare centers. We're getting the message out. We're passing out this paraphernalia because it's become a major issue and a cost to everybody. Everybody has to pay for it.
Okay,
Thank you.
other than that, I'm all set with this. Council did make one change, and he put, if you read the agreement everybody has in front of them, he wrote, "Town which shall upon reasonable request make available such service," okay? It's just one little change, and then I think he's okay with this.
I think this is reasonable.
Right there, reasonable. Right there, request reasonable.
Yeah, I think this is reasonable.
We set that? Yeah, I have no questions, everything is all set. What I suggest is we just read off the memo of understanding as it is, make a motion to allow me as the chair to sign the agreement.
You read it, Peter.
Okay, this agreement is between Town of Wareham, Board of Sewer Commissioners, Board of Selectmen, 54 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571, and the Wareham Housing Authority Board of Commissioners, sorry about that, 57 Sandwich Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571. Memorandum of Understanding, whereas it is deemed practicable, the Wareham Housing Authority, WHA, in accordance with MGL Chapter 121B, Section 7, herewith requests to make use of the service of the Town Sewer Department, Town Agency, its officers, and employees of the town, which shall, upon reasonable request, make available such service. Now, therefore, the WHA agrees in consideration for such service to reimburse the Town Agency/Sewer Enterprise Fund for all costs incurred to service the WHA wastewater pump station located at the Redwood Village Housing Complex at 34 Church Avenue. Such costs shall include, but not be limited to, materials, supplies, direct and indirect labor, administrative and general overhead expenses, and the related fringe benefits of health, life and dental insurance, workers' compensation, and retirement pension costs, so that there will be no cost to the town. Now executed by the chairman of said boards as authorized by the boards. Alan Slavin, chairman. Date, Selectmen, Sewer Commissioners as authorized by the board on date. And Robert Paulides, chairman. Date, Wareham Housing Authority as authorized by the board on date. There's a space here for the town seal and a space here for the Wareham Housing Authority seal, and there's also witness attest lines here as well.
Okay,
Second.
I second.
Motion by Mr. Titlebaum, second by Mr. Tropiano. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 300.
Thank you.
Okay, beautiful. All right, next up would be the Housing Authority sewer bill abatement. abatement request from the Wareham Housing Authority.
Us again.
It's the abatement request.
I know, I'm waiting for them to refer.
Just make sure they understand it's not.
You're up, guy.
I know.
The request for abatement from the Wareham Housing, I believe, and Bob can speak to it better than I, was in regards to fees, in regards to charges from unpaid bills. And he can speak that directly as to why he feels that should be abated. And so I'll turn over to him and let him take the time to explain it to you.
Thank you. That's true. As when we came before you before, we indicated that we had, because of problems unforeseen and no fault of ours, the fiscal 2013 was abysmal. The Commonwealth and the Housing Authority had many deficiencies and paperwork that had to be caught up on, and because of that, they withheld our subsidy until June of this year for the fiscal year 14. So 13 was bad. We got 90% of our subsidy in June, and for that reason, we owed the town both fiscal 13 and 14 sewer bills to the tune of about $75,000. As soon as we got that subsidy, we cut our check to the town in June of $75,000, so you get it in your fiscal year, and it would appear in our books in fiscal year. There was an amount of like $4,000 of late charges, of penalties or interest, and we were hoping for this one time we could get some relief on that, and we would in the future. The state is now looking a lot more favorably upon us, and we will not be delinquent in the future. We'll pay our bills whatever they come, monthly, semi-annually, annually, and we'll be good citizens and partners with the town. So we humbly request some relief on about whatever those late charges are.
Mr. Sullivan?
This is, with it being late fees, you know, they still accrued them. I have to be blunt, I wouldn't make a recommendation to abate these. We have families coming in that have gone through rough times, and we require them to pay their late fees as well. And I would not recommend that this board take an action of an abatement. I just, to be blunt, I don't think it's fair.
Thank you. Mr. Titlebaum?
I go with that.
I guess I'd have to ask then, what has, to your knowledge, Mr. Sullivan, I realize it's a limited time frame, what has the town's stance been on these requests? Because, as you said, people have come forward. Have they been uniformly denied by the treasurer collector?
Yeah, the treasurer collector does not abate any of these.
And I do know that since I've been on the board, I don't believe we've seen any requests from people coming forward with a subsequent actual abatement application on interest and late fees. This is the first one I can recall coming to us, so.
Mr. Tropiano?
This is a tough one for me because the reason why I find it to be a tough one is that I sort of consider the housing authority sort of an arm of the town, and not just the typical, you know, it's not just like somebody who has a sewer bill at a property or business or whatever. It's sort of a town entity in some form or another. So I have a little problem with the town sort of paying interest on their stuff, you know what I'm saying? It's just a little problematic for me. Now, I mean, if you guys think that it's something that we don't want to sort of go down that path, then I'm okay with it. You know what I mean? Like, if you think it would be a problem, I'm okay with it. But I also would be okay if we abated this without too much issue.
Mr. Sullivan, question for you. Have we had any input from DOR on this issue? I know there was some reach.
The question that had been asked was originally on taxes, on late fees for taxes, and that's an entirely different matter.
Yeah.
The sewer, sewer fees are not taxes, are coming underneath that.
Mr. Titlebaum?
You know, following up on what Mr. Tropiano said, I'm a little bit torn as well. I understand that we don't want to set any particular precedent on abating interest and late charges for these payments, because otherwise everybody's going to be coming to us, looking for that. On the other hand, we're not talking about, in this instance, about the impacts of paying this upon the user, in the sense of the residents there were not responsible for this failure by whatever prior administration was in there to get this paid. But any decision we make to stick with the existing late fees and charges necessarily is going to take money away from the services that they're provided. So I do...
That's why it's kind of iffy,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. I'm almost thinking of maybe proposing that we cut it in half, because I don't want to set an absolute precedent of... because otherwise, we're going to get swamped.
No.
And
Say what you want.
I'm willing to say that you're a little bit special, but not 100% special, if that makes any sense.
We are special.
Can we have Guy's opinion?
No.
No, okay.
This is the type of thing where we basically have to make decisions with the head rather than the heart. Too many times we make decisions based on the heart, which sounds wonderful, but at the end of the day, it causes you problems because you're not making an educated decision, you're making a decision based on emotion. You can't sit there, in my opinion, and charge half, either it's yes or no. And in this particular case, if I'm not willing to set a precedent that's going to come back and bite us later. So unfortunately for me, I have to go by, what my head tells me and not what my heart tells me. So I would not be in favor of the abatement.
Is the amount $4,400, is that the correct amount?
Yeah.
Well,
Can I
Yeah.
just say this by way of reference? In my prior life, I was a Selectman, Housing Authority Commissioner and Assessor in the town of Holbrook at the same time. And when I got to the Holbrook Housing Authority, I found an unpaid water bill to the town to the tune of $95,000. And when I asked why they hadn't paid it, they said, well, we don't have the money and all that, so forth. So I went up to the town treasurer collector, talked to him. I said, would you be willing to waive the interest in principal, interest in fees and charges? He said yes, so we made an appointment. We went into the selectman's office. I had the check for $90-something thousand. We paid that, and they waived the remaining interest and penalties, and there was no repercussions or precedent or whatever. It was just, at that time, it seemed like the right thing to do, so.
It's not Wareham.
Huh?
It's not Wareham.
Here's
know.
my dilemma, and I understand where you all are coming from. I totally, and I understand from the day-to-day as well. Here's my dilemma. We do not pay real estate taxes, but we've got a real estate lien on us because of our late fees only. And only for a portion, we had a one lien placed on us because of a portion of FY13. So my dilemma is how do we get a real estate lien when we don't pay real estate taxes? So I understand the interest. Okay, we can understand about the interest because that's what drove it up about $2,500 bucks, or $2,000 was the lien itself. So we got a real estate lien for our interest. You can't, I just don't know if, I find it reasonable under any statute that it's okay to do that. But, we will abide by whatever you say. But I do feel that we are a special condition. We're not just a town family, and I understand our town deeply, understand the ramifications for people that are trying to hold on to their homes in this time. So, thank you very much.
I'll take a motion this time.
All right, okay,
Need to step up and do something.
I'm going to step up and do something, and
Thank you.
Unfortunately, the chair makes a good point, and although he's right, we're thinking with our hearts and not our heads, and I think that's a good point, very good point, in fact. And the town administrator obviously wants the money, I mean, we get that. As no one needs money more than you do. You know, as far as the town's concerned. And so I guess I'm going to move that we deny the $4,400 abatement.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 300. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We're sorry,
Sorry.
obviously you
That's
saw
all
we
right.
struggled with
Sorry,
this.
I really,
understand.
I'd
No,
love
no,
to
no, I
let you have it, but
I
it just
appreciate
doesn't
it.
make sense
I appreciate the effort
in
and
this
the
particular
sentiment.
case.
Thank you. Thank you.
If,
Gary.
if, you know, somebody had done the right thing, we wouldn't be sitting here doing this. So it's not like, you know, whatever. Okay. Tie and bond discussion is,
We're just going to refer to you as Mr. Mike today, not the other,
Mr. Mike,
the other name we usually call you.
Good
What's
evening,
wrong with the
gentlemen.
other
what do we
name?
call him?
Professor Poop.
What's the
Professor
name?
Poop.
Professor Poop.
Yeah. We're not going there today.
That stuck, thank you very much.
Is that how your
saying
paychecks
that
come addressed
everywhere?
now? Is that how your paychecks come addressed now?
Floor is yours.
Okay, so we concluded our rate study evaluation with the conclusion, or that I understand the conclusion is the town was interested in moving towards what I call a hybrid rate structure, which would have a fixed fee or a fixed portion of the fee that everybody would pay that would cover the bulk of your fixed costs, your costs just to keep the plant running, and then a flow based fee as well. And we were asked to, so that everybody pays some, and then the people who use more pay more. And
And within that, there was a change in the structure of the kinds of stuff that we take in. That there should be some changes or differences between
correct,
what they're sending us to be treated.
correct. That, yes, you're referring to the strength of the waste. That's a slightly separate topic, and that's another one of Mr. Campina's campaigns is the sort of an industrial pretreatment program. So what we were asked to do is to prepare a scope of work to now implement the town or move the town towards this different way of collecting sewer fees. And in putting this together, I looked at the big picture, you know, some considerations, and I think now I'm just hearing you talk about the kind of things you're going to need to talk about, some policy decisions, the way that you actually implement this so that it can go as smoothly as possible. So there's some portions of this that are very fact-based, and we're just putting together data. Then there's other portions where we'll be talking about future policy decisions and things you haven't had to deal with up till now based on your current rate. So if you like, I don't know if you've had a chance to review this. I can go through each scope item in particular. I can field questions. It's the board's pleasure.
We've had,
What would the board like?
what do you want to do? I think we've had this for a while.
Yeah, we have.
I'm set to go.
I know we've had this for a while to read it. We've had this actually since the end of July. So I don't have any real questions per se. The only thing that I want to make sure everybody understands is as we're going through with this program of going from a fixed EDU rate to possibly a base rate and a use
Yes.
rate or however this ends up, at the end of the day, we have to go back and look at where we are versus what the new system would entail and make decisions whether or not financially it works overall, what's the impact to our residents, et cetera.
Correct.
So I
And
don't want anyone to go out there thinking that this is gonna happen like tomorrow, or we're gonna go ahead and just do this because we wanna do it. This will
No.
be based on what works best for the town.
right, and I reflected, I believe, in the scope, the various considerations that I've heard over different times, your sensitivity to the business community, the financial impacts, and the intent was to address all of those issues.
I would say the scope is pretty comprehensive, and
It
it does
is.
reflect the prior concerns that were brought forward during our workshops from citizens, as well as our own internal discussions. The only thing I would say to this is I'd be happy to vote on this right now, except we don't have vote on the agenda. It is a fairly substantial contract. I do feel that all 5 selectmen should be involved in the vote. So,
We can put it on next week for a vote.
yeah, I mean, if it's just a vote, that's fine.
I think that kind of gives everybody a little more time to play with it too, if they want to.
Yeah, just a little final review here. The other thing is, Mr. Sullivan has a question, but he's not nervy enough to ask it, but I guess I am. He wants to know, since it's been sitting around for so long, did the price go down?
Does that happen with anything else?
Good answer. I see you've heard this question before.
Fuel recently.
On Mr. Sullivan's behalf, I'll say touche and just leave it at that.
Okay, I have just a couple little things. The program itself, last time we did the program with you, not on your end, on our end, the information you got wasn't clear, you had to go back and redo. I want to make sure that whatever you do this time, based on the quote you had, you'll have all the information you need. Because
I
last
hope
time
so.
around, you had to go back and redo quite a bit.
Yes, that's correct.
So I don't want to make the same mistake twice. So Mr. Campino,
Agreed.
you are on the same page?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes, we've gathered quite a bit of information in the interim of the final and this year. We're actually right now reconciling addresses. It's been quite extensive. It's taken a considerable amount of time. We'll continue to do that. It's been quite a burden on us because we're staffed, but nonetheless, we have been diligently working towards it. We got all the Swiss Beach done. We're working now throughout our sewer areas, and we will do everything we can to get them the information that they need. That's going to be accurate as we can possibly get it to facilitate their completion of this task.
Thank you, Guy. Anything else from anyone?
No, we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would
We'll
you
go-
like me to return?
No, I think well,
No.
I don't think so, because we have it in front of us, and it's just a matter of the board going ahead and voting as a
Okay.
full board.
Next week, same time?
Next week, same time.
Okay.
We'll be here.
We'll vote it next week, and then you'll be off and running.
Okay.
And,
Thank you very much.
Okay, next up is stormwater reports.
Mistake.
Guy,
Sorry?
stormwater report.
I think you were going to suggest with the town administrator to have a working committee of some kind?
Well,
Last time we saw you a month ago?
Last time, yes, we talked about, well, MS4 required a committee that works towards addressing all our MS4 issues. And so we've never established one. So I think it's time that we do establish one. I understand the board's sentiment about mandates, and I truly do, but I think that we should address. I've got some information on the concept of storm. I believe, and I had talked to Mr. Sullivan, he provided some good documents to me. It should be, so I believe, the treatment of it and the structure should be something that we should seriously look at as to assigning it to a utility other than the municipal maintenance. And suggestions, one is the water pollution control or any other utility that the board desires to be able to complete it. I've got some documents I'll pass to you about other communities that have done this and the practicality of it and how it fits with treatment and sewer. So I think we should begin with some type of committee, and then we should address all these issues to see where we're going as a community, addressing, and it comes under clean water, and it's definitely an issue. And I think we need to see how we can address it. I read a document prepared by Mr. Sullivan, and I think it's really extensive, it's to the point, and I think we should seriously consider it. And so I'm asking this board to appoint a committee so we can move forward. And I think it should be some of the town, I mean, we got the conservation, municipal maintenance. If you choose me, I'll be part of it, and some of the board, of the department heads that we presently have to move forward. I think that'll satisfy our MS4 requirements under the permit that we have existing. And so I think we really need to do this.
Mr. Sullivan, when we did this back, probably actually 2 months ago, the group that they had kind of put together was obviously town employees, Director of Municipal Maintenance, Director of Water Pollution Control Facility, Conservation Agent, Town Planner, which in this case are both the same right now, water superintendents from both districts as well. Do you want to go ahead and reach out to the districts and see if they would join us in this?
Yeah, I'll reach out to them and make sure that they're notified, and hopefully they'll come on board.
All right, can we basically say we'll get back to this next month to see if it's in place?
Right, until we have them saying that they'd like to be part of it, I wouldn't say that we formed the committee, even though that looks like we're heading that direction. Until we've got their official okay, it'd be presumptuous, so. But I do, and I like the outline of it.
Excellent. I
So
think it's right.
I'll put this on the agenda for next month as a follow-up.
Okay. Right. And I'll also provide the documents of the research that we have from other communities that are actually doing this and how they structure it, so we can add that to the dialogue so you can see that also. So I'll
Yeah,
provide
get
that
it to us as early as you can so we can read through it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Next.
Any discussion, Peter? You want to ask if he has anything? You got anything on that?
No, he said it was okay.
You all set?
Well,
I'm
the
sorry,
only-
I thought you were all set.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The only thing I
don't know
wanted,
if he- I saw him, he looked like he wanted to say something.
well, yeah, I mean, the only
I thought
question
that
I
was the
would,
bird.
well, the only question I would have is, this does mean, a commitment of time from some of Mr. Sullivan's department heads, and what does he think about it? But,
Well, he'll get back to us,
Yeah.
let us know if there's an issue.
Yep.
We've already made our feelings known about mandates not funded,
Okay.
including him having to spend money as well, obviously.
Yeah, well, we took that vote about the mandate, but we'll keep talking, I guess. You'll be going to jail. Well, that's okay, I'll come visit you. I'll make you a pie with a file in it or something. All right, discussion of Swift Beach Sewer Project.
When we do this one, we can then phase right over to onset after this one's done as well.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Fit
well,
right
we'll be
together.
talking about that, so.
I'm going to let Mr. Tropiano and Mr. Campina basically run this portion. They've been talking together quite a bit on this, and therefore, instead of going through three different people, we might as well go direct and get the information we need.
Well, I'm going to let Guy kind of jump in here. I'm just going to say a couple of quick things, and one is that I think we've had some good conversations, and some good conversations with the town administrator as well regarding this particular issue. And there are some opportunities that will result as this proceeds with other issues. One of them was stormwater and other issues that exist that might be able to be sort of mixed into the project as we go along, okay? And marginally, right, and correct some things that need to be corrected and so on and so forth. And I think that's what Guy was trying to get to earlier about stormwater, because, let's face it, stormwater should probably be managed by the sewer department when you come right down to it.
They're interrelated.
It's so related that it's, the treatment, the whole thing, it's all related. And a matter of fact, if you go to Boston, they run a lot of their stormwater in through the plant, actually, and treat it. They can treat about 70% of their runoff. It's only when they get to a certain point that they actually send it out raw, but basically, they treat a lot of it. So it's quite common for this to occur. But anyway, as far as guys work diligently in coming up with numbers and ideas and things, so I'm going to let him go ahead and give you all that information.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk, Mr. Chairman, and members. We have looked at
Guy,
considerable the issue.
pull the microphone a little closer. You're fading in and out of times.
I'm sorry.
It looks like you're a
I'm
little
probably
tired
fading
today.
in and out, just because I'm not used to this much sun in the course of one day, so
I
I
see that.
apologize. We had looked at, it all started with a break in Swiss Beach a while back, and many of you were able to go down there and see the project itself. And we had discovered at that time that we have a considerable amount of infiltration and inflow into our system. And we've tried to calculate that numbers. As an example, we looked at water being sent to consumption in Swiss Beach, and then we looked at water coming back at us. And it was almost a 3 to 4 to 1. So we decided that we have approximately anywhere from 100 to 200,000 gallons per day of I&I coming out of that area. We also know the town is up against a capacity issue, which will definitely stymie any type of development that we want to do, because if we lose capacity at the treatment plant, then sewering is over. We have a 1.5 window at the plant itself, So we're quickly approaching that. I think at this time, we have approximately 50,000 gallons left. So that means that we only have 50,000 gallons of projects available in Wareham to be sewered. And then we're done. That's it. We're over. So it made sense to chase this I&I. If we can add that to our bank, if you will, a couple 100,000 gallons, then we can continue to sewer. So we started thinking, everything out there is deep. It's 15 feet and better. So everything is in the water table. So they're older pipes. They're asbestos pipes, asbestos concrete. They're made with collars, and they sway, and so they're taking in quite a bit of I&I. The beauty is that we find that we can leave them there. We took, I believe, 20 feet. Cost us a lot of money to get rid of it. We check with DEP. We leave it where it is. We abandon it. It costs us no money. And that, to me, is exciting, because it would be cost prohibitive to chase that pipe and take it out of the ground.
Oh, absolutely.
Not only the dewatering, but the actual disposal of the asbestos. So we come up with low gravity, low pressure systems. They're 4 feet in the ground. Everybody gets their own grinder pump. We've looked at all the options of us owning. We looked at the option of the property owners owning. We talked to many communities. A lot of research went into this. And at this time, and we'll present it formally, but at this time, we believe the town should own them. We have a lot of sump pumps in the area, and they're pumping their water now to us illegally. I can't go grab them. How do I go to everybody's home and say, disconnect that pump? So we have an option of putting pump stations, if you will, mini pump stations, abandoning our large pump stations. Our Ruggles pump station will be abandoned, and our Smith's Ave pump station will be abandoned, again, with all the costs associated with that. We believe it's the right direction. I do want to say that when we do this as a one-time fix, we're going to go in there and do sewer. We're going to do drainage. We're going to do water if they want to do any water. We're going to do gas. Anybody that needs to repair anything in those roads will be done at this time. So we have an opportunity of gathering funds, make this a mutual type of enterprise, and then we'll fix the roads. If you haven't driven in Swiss Beach recently, make sure you bring some Dramamine. And that is not the roads problem, it's what's underneath the roads. So we need to address it. It cost us $120,000 last year to address 20 feet. And there's miles out there, many miles. So we believe this is viable. We put a cost to it. We had costs come to us from E1 folks themselves, from Mahoney, from our engineers, and it's $18 million, which I believe we should fund. Now, there's some interesting things here. If we borrow the money, we have the opportunity to borrow it at 0%. We just have to meet some specific criteria. Also, we are one of the communities, hard to believe, that have economic issues, and there's some debt forgiveness available to us. And I don't know what those numbers are, but it could be considerable. So I think it's a project that we ought to pursue for many reasons. It's A, to bring the town forward, B, to correct the problem that we have. And then I also think if we abandon this, and this is where the connection really comes in, if we give the people with sump pumps a viable solution, like maybe putting them into the drains, then I think that we can get it out of the sewer so we're not paying. Because now I'm not even talking about the sewer side of it, because it's costing me money to treat 120,000 gallons a day of pure groundwater. Because I have to treat it, it's intermingled, I can't separate it, so I'm spending a considerable amount of money to collect it, to move it, to treat it, and that's substantial too, so we'll save that money. So to me, it's a win-win situation, and I think it's something that we need to act upon and do. And as we go, we'll provide greater details, keep you in the loop, but I think it's, we've done a lot of research, and I think we should move forward. That's my recommendation. Thank you.
Mr. Tyler.
When you were in here last month, I think we were sort of tossing ideas back and forth on what are the sewer liabilities going forward, including this project, also the thought that Onset's going to need to be redone soon. You had mentioned a few other things, and I think that we sort of casually arrived at the figure of $34.5 million. Does this $18 million shift that number in any direction?
Bit. Absolutely, because our original guesstimate or estimate was $12 million at Swiss Beach.
So now we're up to...
Estimate, never guesstimate, estimate.
An estimate, because we took the facts of known facts and what we thought, and it becomes more extensive. So it does.
So really, what we're up to in terms, what we're looking at for, if you want to call it a 20-year plan, we're looking at $40 million.
I would say the
Anyway.
21st, that's right. I agree with you 100%, because we also have the new issue of the line on the beach. That's become a nightmare. We have installed a sonar to monitor that manhole at Point Independence Yacht Club because of that issue. When I talked about those numbers, that was not part of the issue. The other side of it was, so that's going to be added to it. Thursday at 10 o'clock, we're kicking off our CIP meeting, and we're going to develop a 20-year plan of finances for the plant, the infrastructure, pump stations, and we're going to include Swiss Beach, Onset, and all of the projects that we have. So when we present you a CIP, it'll be comprehensive, talking about those things. We also have to talk about, we're doing 6 and 28 if it ever comes to fruition. I have manhole covers that are popping off. I need to do all those manhole covers and frames. That needs to be included. So yes, I'm going to give you all those numbers. So that number will be 40 million and maybe a little bit north of it.
When will you, just so you know, because we have a self-imposed internal deadline of filing warrant articles, I had spoken with Mr. Tropiano, and I drafted and filed a placeholder article for the Selectmen as sewer commissioners for the Swiss Beach project. Again, it's a placeholder, doesn't contain any numbers. I didn't know the numbers for certain. From what you're telling me today, we're still kind of, you have a better handle on what the number's going to be, but this CIP you're talking about, I guess, will contain what you think is the definitive number,
No, the
which
CIP
is the definitive number that we would need to go to town meeting and ask
No.
for funding?
We
Or
have
what?
that number now. $20 million. 18 was, in other words, once we got the cost, actual cost from the E1 folks, actual cost from RF Mahoney, and the actual cost from Beta Engineering, because they called 3 installers or 3 companies that they dealt with this very same, and gave them the plans that we have of and we have the plans of what's going in there. And then we got some actual numbers based upon what we're giving them. That number became 18 million, whatever the change was. So that's a real number. That's not a guesstimate, an estimate. That's a real number. That's a real number. So that's the number you're going to go with. I think if you ask for that, then that's what it's going to cost us to repair that.
When are you going to be able to provide us with the plan?
Mr. Tropiano has it.
I actually have a copy of it.
Yes,
Okay,
he does.
so the CIP is completed, or you
No,
need
the
to go back and
The CIP
do
is
more?
different, because what I'm doing with the CIP is we have to fund it. The CIP is a capital improvement plan for the treatment plant. We're going to give a 20-year funding plan for the treatment plant in general, all things. It's going to include all the costs, because we're talking about sewer use fees, and this stress Mr. Chairman has been adamant about. What's our real costs? So we hired an engineering firm, and they're coming in, and we're going to give him some real costs, what we're looking at over the next 20 years, because his concern has always been budget. So are our budgets real? Are we picking numbers out of the air? What's the budget? So the capital improvement plan is going to talk about that very thing. All the issues that we have in all our 45 pump stations, our infrastructure, our aging pipes, our aging manholes, everything we have at the treatment plant, because we all believe it's 2005, but 10 years down the road, we're hitting some major issues. Those are going to be addressed, and then we're going to be able to put a cost to what this town is looking at over the next 20 years to do known things. And keep in mind, it's a fluid document. And then we're going to be able to set some hard budgetary numbers and move forward. And that addresses the concerns of Mr. Chair when it comes to rate setting. And so it's going to help the gentleman that was here from Ty and Bond, because we're asking him to take on a project. And one of the things we're asking him is to figure out what our real costs are, because when we do the rate change, we have to make sure that we're able to sustain our fixed and, of course, our variable costs. That's going to be added into it. So that's the idea of a capital improvement plan for real numbers. So they're really interrelated but different. This is going to be a borrowing, and then when we borrow, we have to know what we're going to fund. So we're going to fund it over so many years, 20 years. That has to be bought into a budget.
This is
So
just
that's how
one
we're doing
piece
it.
of the plan that's just going to fit into what he's going to be doing for the overall plan. That's all.
I understand that, but I guess my question, or I don't know if it's a concern or not yet, because I haven't seen it, I'd almost rather see the whole plan first and then try to figure out the funding of it, rather than say, okay, Swiss Beach, do it now, and then we'll try to figure out what the other stuff costs, or exactly what it's gonna cost, or this, that, and the other thing. I'd almost rather, and if we're in a situation now where because of our financial status, we're capable of 0% borrowing, does it make sense to just hit it all at once? Does it make sense to do it over a few town meetings? I mean, I'm just trying to get a sense of the overall impact here, not just in terms of this issue at Swiss Beach, but the whole infrastructure issue, and get a sense of how much overall it's going to cost people going forward. And I'm just a little concerned about going ahead with this piece of it when I know that there's another, looming cost that's even bigger than this out there when you take into account all of the other things you're looking at.
And I agree. And again, we're talking 20 years, so let's say Swiss Beach is the first 5 years, first 3 years, whatever the number may be.
No, I understand you're going to prioritize.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
So
not it. I just
that's
want
how
to,
we're doing
see
it.
the priority, I want to see the list, the priority list first,
That's
I
fine.
guess.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you've
okay.
got the CIP, let's take a look at it, is all I'm saying.
No, he has the proposal for Swiss Beach. The CIP, we begin the process the 21st of this month.
How long is it going to take to develop that?
That's gonna take a while.
It's a while.
That's gonna take quite a while.
That's a while.
Okay,
Because that's an actual, what's going to happen is we got to do structural studies. Because what we're trying to accomplish, and I apologize if I'm not answering your question directly, but we don't know. We don't know. We have some great ideas, but we have to actually look at all the things that we have that we suspect and look at them hard by the engineers and say, okay, no, well, that doesn't have to be placed, but that does. This is a high risk because if that goes out, then you're in serious trouble. That is a problem, but it's not as risky. So we do a risk assessment, that's all part of it, and then we develop a plan, and then we go forward. Because that's for budgetary. So I can't give you that tomorrow, I can't give you that in 6 months. I'm hoping to have it within a year, and I mean that, but I can give you pieces as we go for budget. But this Swiss Beach is an area that we have already studied and know that it's an issue. And so what I'm saying is that that's an area we have to move forward on. And so that's going to be included. I'm going to give the numbers of the CIP because it's only fair that I do that. But as we're doing that for the CIP, I think we should look at what we have here and then find the funding for it, do all the things that we need to do. Because let me be very blunt, when you talk about SRF funding, I don't walk in there and say, give me the money. I have to get on the list. It's a process. We just turned one back in that we took many years to get, so we have to get on, so I have to submit to the DEP that I want funding, get into their picture, get into their funnel, and then wait for them to say to me, yes, you have funding, and then move forward. That's not going to happen anytime in the very near future because they do it a couple times a year. So we got to get the work, I'm saying the work's going, that's all I'm saying, and so.
This is
I
an
think it's
overall
time to
study.
move
It's going
forward.
to take some time to do, but that doesn't stop us from getting our Swiss Beach issue. See, one of the issues with Swiss Beach is huge. Being that we're at 50-some-odd thousand gallons now a day of flow, that's small. If we had a big project come in, we could use that up like breaking sticks.
oh, I know that.
And that's an issue. And let's make clear that Swiss Beach is 100 to 200,000 gallons a day of flow that we're treating. Now, we're paying to treat that. This project, of course, would hopefully eliminate that we would end up without that flow and would bring that flow back in and be able to use it somewhere else, including our wastewater management plan, which we're going to be talking about in a little bit. The other issue that we have is that the other thing you have to understand is those big pumping stations, they go away.
Yes, they do.
There's a big cost to those. The maintenance and everything in those, that goes away. So there is some sort of balance to the cost at some point in the upgrade. No, it's huge. The difference is huge.
Well, I think it probably takes your $18 million hit to the ratepayers and maybe makes it a $15 million hit to the ratepayers.
Well, no,
But still, these are big numbers, Patrick, and that's the issue.
Well, but that makes...
I want to try to quantify these numbers. What are people going to be seeing in their sewer bills as a consequence of approving these projects? I mean, I'm going to want to know that for myself. I mean, I'm on the sewer. I'd like to know. I'm sure everybody else would as well. And of course, the other thing too is if this board does go forward with the sort of split-based sewer fee system, where you have a fixed rate and then your excess usage, if you want to call it that, is on top, it's going to change it around a little bit. For some users, it's going to be different. But I mean, I was just thinking, you've got some money banked. We know that. Frankly, not quite sure how it happened, but congratulations. But nonetheless, you know, we're still going to be dipping pretty deep into people's pockets to do these things. And that's why I'd like to get some idea, what is it going to cost the average sewer user per year going forward for 20 years to pay off the bonds for these things? That's what I want to know.
And I agree with you. I have the same concerns, and I can't give you those numbers until we have something in place, which would be the loan, the
Well,
application.
for the big
So
one,
let's
but
do
we can
that.
extrapolate. If you can tell us what it's going to cost for the $18 million project, then I can figure out what the math is for the $40 million overall, or whatever it is.
Yes.
That's,
I agree.
if we can get that information, then at least it gives us a basis to go into town meeting and tell the people, okay, if you vote for this, it's going to cost the sewer users, and that's where it's going to come from.
Absolutely.
It's not going to come from the people on Title V. It's going to cost the sewer users this much a year for this amount of time, on average. I know that it's going to fluctuate a little bit as the thing gets paid off. Although if it's zero interest, it shouldn't, I guess.
And I'm not a mathematician, but at zero interest, I
Well,
think once you
zero
know,
interest
you're
means it
gonna
takes
go.
the math out of it. You borrow
That's right,
$20
you
million,
just
you
pay
pay
back,
$20
that's
million
right.
back, and they
That's
want $1
it.
million a year.
That's-
That's
to me,
easy
that's-
math. Even I can figure
Yes.
that out. But that's the issue here is,
I understand.
you know, we need to know what that is, I think, and I think that the citizens need to know what it is as well. Are you going to be prepared to possibly the next time around give us at least that? And we're going to have to probably know that before we vote favorable action on these things. We can vote to put it on the warrant, but at some point, we're going to have to give our own advice on this. The Finance Committee is going to need to know this so that they can vote whether to recommend or not. And town meeting's going to know this so that they know whether to vote for it or not. So these are all the considerations I'm worried
Understand.
about.
And we'll do our very best. I can call the DEP to find out when SR funding's available, what zero interest, what the qualifications are, what debt forgiveness is, do the very best we can to get those numbers, look at the 18 million we have as an actual cost, and try to do some extrapolation, give some folks an idea of what it would actually be. But keep in mind, it'll be over 20 years, and it'll be absorbed into the budget, and we'll do our very best. Because what I don't want to do is mislead anybody. I want to be as factual as I can and give hard numbers as I can. I want to be very frank, and I mean that sincerely because they're paying for it, and I take that to heart. I truly do. So I agree with you. I hear you, and we'll do our very best.
Okay, well, I'll put it to you this way. If you tell them it's going to cost $100 a year and it winds up costing $103 a year, nobody's going to care.
I
If you
agree.
tell them it's going to cost $100 a year and it costs $200 a year, then they're going to have your head. So
I'd rather
that's,
tell you-
that's kind of, you know,
I'd rather tell you
these
it's
are
going
big
to cost you
numbers.
120 and come in at 90. That's my goal. That's my goal.
Thanks. I won't belabor it any further.
I have a few questions. Just, as you were going through, you mentioned water. We talking about water?
Yes, what
Pipes?
we did is, a gallon of water comes into a home. 3 gallons comes out. How does that work?
I understand. But
That's
we're
what I'm
not,
saying.
we're not talking about redoing water pipes.
No, what I said, here's what I said to you. We're not doing anything, but we're going to have the road open. If the water department wants to come in there and do water pipes, because remember, once we button up, we're done. So it gives everybody, the gas company gives everybody opportunity. And here was my thoughts. If we're all in there, then we got to come back and repave this road. Then we all take a little piece out of that pavement. Again, saving the taxpayers' money. That's all I'm saying, because sometimes when you do these projects, gas company has a project, water department has a project, sewer department has a project, the drainage has to be done. We can do all these things. That's all I'm saying is it may be a good opportunity to do a coordinated effort. Everybody antes up a little bit, and it reduces the cost for everybody. That's all I was saying, because we did sewer. They had pipes they had to replace. So that's all I'm saying. It's an opportunity.
No, I understand. I just want to make sure we had that little issue. We still have a $210,000 issue.
Trust me,
on
my apprehension is there, but it still would be in the best interest of all the people that are in that area. That's what I'm talking about. But I agree with you.
No,
I
we
with you 100%.
agree, but that's the way it ended up.
Valid point.
I've been at this probably 5 years now, at least 4 with you, if not more, on all these issues. We're talking about 50,000 gallons left, so that means we're at 14,950 gallons a day?
Yes, what it means is, and to be very blunt,
1.5,
we're
I'm
not
sorry.
there yet. No, we're actually averaging about 800,000 gallons a day.
So-
However, we've committed those gallons, 30,000 to a project going in Onset. We committed to the Garden Homes East. I think they got $30,000. We committed. So all I'm saying is that as I take them out of the picture,
Can you
We
get us a
still-
list of where you're at with 800 and
absolutely,
the
it's
others?
on my board. I look
Because
at it
I'm
every
looking
day.
at it saying we still have quite a bit left.
Yeah.
If we're only going to save 100 to 200,000 gallons in your overall capital CIP program, you've got to come up with a secondary plant facility of some kind.
Yes, sir. What I'm looking at now, and we'll do it in timeframes, but I talked to the DEP and the EPA, and what I'd like to do, and it's pretty aggressive, and we're pretty excited about it, and I was going to wait till I did. I'll just mention it, and we'll go on from there, and we won't belabor it. But we're trying to do we're trying to get a discharge permit into the Cape Cod Canal. And this is long term. Mass Maritime has a discharge permit at the Cape Cod Canal, which is one of the finest flushing in the entire area. And they have a discharge permit right now for approximately 85,000 gallons. We'd like to expand that to maybe up to 15 million gallons per day, bring it into Wareham, treat it, and be in partnerships with Bourne, South Plymouth, Mass Maritime, which is the state. Now, this has been discussed already with the EPA and the DEP. At first, when I presented this 3 years ago, it was nuts. It really was. But as we progress over the past few years, talking to the parties to be, they seem to be more receptive to it. So, and I was going to come to you at a later date so we can set up a formal committee to talk to the Bourne folks, sit down, and we can all start sitting down. I've already been to a meeting with Mass Maritime, to everybody. We've had these meetings, and so we've been moving forward, and now we've come to the point where we think it's the right thing to do because we all have issues, every single one of us. And if we put all our dollars together, then maybe we can solve the issues. We have the land, we have the technology, and it's just plumbing. Bringing it into this facility, treating it, piping it back down the road, and going to the Cape Cod Canal. And so we're beginning that process. We believe that in 8 years, 9 years, we should be able to bring a viable plan approved by the EPA, approved by the EPA, ready for construction. A lot of work, a lot of hard work. I mean, it's going to take quite a bit. But we're willing to do this because it's the right thing to do, and it's the right direction for the town, for all the towns, for Wareham, Bourne, South Plymouth, that area. And we're talking about the bay, and we're also talking about a TMDL that we're all going to be under, so it's the right thing to do. So that's to answer your question directly, yes, we are thinking about the future beyond me, when I retire, when I'm gone, or drop dead, beyond all that. We are talking about that. We are trying to move forward, absolutely, because we're going to come against the wall one day. In the short term, if that doesn't happen, we always have a plan B. We're looking at satellite stations, maybe moving up the road, going into areas that we have vacant land, that people have vacant land, and take that land and do groundwater discharge permits, and do small areas, 200,000 gallon per day plant, 400,000 gallon per day plant, that type of scenario. So we're also looking at that because the town cannot come to a standstill. There's one day the entire community will be sewered. And we've got other things we're looking at that we can talk about to sewer other parts of town. So yes, we do have a concern. We are looking for, we have all those, and I will be willing to share them. I just, when we talked about, it was so preliminary, I hadn't talked it, but now we're getting encouragement. I went to DEP last week, and the week before last, I met with DEP, 4 representatives from different divisions. They're like, yeah, you need to do this. And so we're excited. So they're behind us. Dave Burns is going to be the point man for DEP out of the Southeast region, and he'll come here and sit and talk to you folks what we're planning to do and move forward. Yes, we are looking for the future, absolutely.
CMAS program, where are we with that?
We have a letter to them, and I'm waiting. They have a lot of the issues, and they're really not talking to us, but yes, we're pursuing that also.
Okay.
I want to.
And
That's something that's very
that
important.
still has a potential of 500,000 gallons a day?
Absolutely, up to 500,000 gallons a day, and that's, DEP has backed us on that also.
Okay. Now, how many EDUs do we have per year, basically? How much?
9,050
So
approximately.
if you take 9,000 divided into $18.4 million, that's what the cost is going
That's
to
the
be.
cost, pretty much.
0%. Then you break it over 20 years, so it's easy enough to figure out.
Yep.
My concern, again, is I think the numbers will be less than people realize because of the number of EDUs we have, and no matter how we break it out, is that this is all, the ratepayers, whoever's on sewer is going to have an increase for all these different projects. We all pay for it that are on sewer.
Absolutely.
So it is going to be expensive to a lot of different people. I'm not sure how high it's going to be yet, but if we're looking at all the projects, going down the line, you probably, by the time you're done with normal increases, we could be easily a $15 million CIP program.
There's, you're absolutely right. And the reality is we've been kicking the can for quite some time, and we can't kick the can any longer.
It's not just us, it's everybody.
And it's everybody. The infrastructures throughout the country. You look at California, they're in trouble. They're looking at $4 billion in just water, and they don't know how they're going to be there. That's half their annual budget. They don't even know how they're going to do it. But you know what? They're having severe breaks. And the problem is when you have a severe break and it costs you $20 million to fix it, you fix it. Because you don't have the luxury of saying, well, you folks don't need water. That's the reality of it. So I hear you, and I have great concerns also. But these things have to be done because we can't ignore them. And that's the concept of prioritizing risk assessment, and put our money where we really need, that's the highest of priorities, and continue forward with getting everything done. And I just, that's just the way I think is in the best interest of everybody.
You have any federal grant programs?
There's a couple of programs that we're talking about now that the feds have kind of stepped to the plate and trying to offer some money. I don't have anything hard, but we are talking to our representatives, and as soon as something hard comes, we're going to attack it. So, and that's the best right now, because they don't have any money either, but they're trying to, again, they like the mandate, but they don't have any funding. So they talked about some grant programs. Even the state's talking about some grant programs, all to do with infrastructure, water and sewer. So yes, sir, we're looking at all that also.
So we on our end, and with the other communities that we're starting to work with, should be reaching out to the federal government saying, spend money here rather than overseas, and we have issues that, in order for us to survive, need to be done.
Absolutely, and that's the power of groups together, because it's coming from many people, and so it's harder to ignore many voices. It's easy to ignore one voice. So to your point, if we all get on the same table, we all pitch it, and I agree with you 100%, in all the communities, and we all reach out to our representatives and say, this is what we need to do, and this is important to the communities, and something the communities have to do.
Thank you. Go ahead.
One more thing I just want to point out. It's good that you're talking about the CIP. And I appreciate you talking about pushing it down the road, because I want to point out something about pushing things down the road. When we first started sewering, we sewered over by Jefferson Shores and stuff. The betterment was about $3,600. It was relatively inexpensive. And of course, as we all know, the last betterment was, what, 22 to 24?
Well, adjusted
somewhere?
to 18.
22,
It was 21.8, and it was adjusted to 18, if I
Well, it
remember
was
correctly.
adjusted by town meeting,
Yeah.
improperly, by the way, I might add. It was adjusted, in my estimation, you can't ask all the people in town to pay for what you're not using. But that's what happened, at any rate. But these costs are elevating, and I'm willing to guess that if we were to have done contract 3 at this point, we could be looking at $30,000. The costs just keep rising. So unless, and I really appreciate what Guy's doing here, because what he's trying to do is get a handle on this, so that it might cost people $100 in their sewer bill to get onto this plan, or however it's going to be, and we don't know that it's 100, whatever the number's going to be. But 5 years from now, that number, if we're not in that plan by then, that number's going to be much higher. And the further we kick it down the number's just going to be more and more and more. And it's almost exponential, as we all know. It's not like, okay, it's just, okay, well, all right, it's just sort of went with inflation. It doesn't go with inflation. It tends to run extremely higher as we go along in these things. And we all know that from all the projects we've seen done over the years, right, haven't we? I mean, the costs they just get escalated. And I think, because it's not just the cost of the labor, it's the cost of the products, it's the cost of everything, fuel, blah, 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 all gets added into it. And things just keep going up and up. So to put this plan together and put it in place, it's going to save the sewer users in the long run.
Absolutely.
By working on this right now and getting it done now, so that we're not sticking it to them later on with some huge sewer bills that they can't afford.
Mr. Sullivan.
Mr. Campion, what would the process be on this?
I think, to my understanding, the process would be that we'd have some type of decision to move forward, probably to do some studying, gather some numbers. And the town meeting process, I'm not 100% sure. I would talk to council, but I believe we should go to town meeting and request the funds to be expended once everything's been put in place. So here's what I would do for me. Tomorrow I'm going to call the DEP, get some time frame for the SR funding, because that's a critical piece. Talk to them about our forgiveness, I believe it's called SJR. That's a critical piece. We have the number of what it's going to cost us. We know that. And we have our usage. So if we move forward tomorrow, then we know what the cost is. So to answer your question directly, I think we need to continue with the article as a placeholder, continue, and then I'll do some research as far as what's available to us. And I just bluntly, to move forward. And one of my other phone calls tomorrow would be to my engineer, who's done this many, many times, and get an actual process. Because at some point it has to go out to an official bid. Doesn't mean we got to follow it through, but there has to be an official bid to get some hard numbers. We have numbers, 3 tentative bids, but it's got to be official. But to answer your question, what I would like to do is is get you something in writing. Once I talk to the engineer tomorrow, and give you an actual hard process is how we're going to accomplish and get to there. And then you'll know, I'll know, you'll know, and we can present it to the board and go from there.
I know you have a certain amount of, there's a certain amount of funds set aside, not necessarily the retained earnings, that we can use for capital items and such. Now, there's a design cost on there.
Correct. That's where that's going to come in.
And that's my concern. We can go for the SRF funding, but that may not cover the design. So do you need funds set aside ahead of time to take care of that? Because that's really going to be the first step, right?
I'm going to look at that because, to be honest with you, we've done a lot of this work. So if that actual design is going to be minimal, which I think it won't be, they're usually designs $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million. But a lot of this work has already been done. Last week we met with FRF Money and their engineers from Wright Pierce. They took every bit of our plans out there in Swiss Beach at their cost, and they're presenting us a design, an actual workable design for nothing. So I want to take that workable design, present it to our engineer for peer review, and see how real it really is, and then cultivate it. And until that's done, then I can give you a hard cost. Because what makes this exciting to me is that there are people, especially on the E1 side, that are willing to give you real, honest-to-God designs. And Wright Pierce is doing that at no cost to the town. The original is no cost to the town. So I don't know what that cost is going to be, but I can tell you it's going to be a whole lot less than the $1.5 million that we're usually getting for design of these projects. And it's going to be considerably less. So I will get that number, and I think we have that in our capital. And I think it's going to be minimal. And if it is minimal, then I think it's wise to move forward because we have savings. But I want to get that hard. I want to be really clear because there's a lot of work that's going into it, Mr. Town Administrator, right now, and it's cost us nothing. So I'll get you a hard number from our engineer through peer review, and then we can go forward with that number.
Right.
Because a lot of work has been done in design, actual design.
Thank you.
Good? Thank you. All set? Good. Mr. Chairman just did some quick numbers, and I think he should sort of give people an idea what we're actually talking about here for the Swiss Beach project.
Well, if you're talking about an $18 million project with just rounded off 9,000 EDUs over 20 years, well, basically, you end up with $2,000 if you were to pay it off all at once for each user, because 2,000 times 9,000 gives you $18 million. If you pay it off over 20 years, then you're looking at $100 a year. No, it's $100 a year.
100, yeah.
100
Is what it comes to.
Comes out to $99.44 if you use the 9,050 users.
I made it
EDUs.
nice and easy. My only other question is, Mike's still sitting here. You have all this information as well from Guy about what they may be planning and how it might affect the program?
I expect to get it when he's complete.
Okay, just as long as we all on the same page again.
As I mentioned, we have a long ways to go. Absolutely, that's part of it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, moving on, we have update on sewer policies, and we're gonna take kind of I together because it's developing a policy for lots originally that are non-buildable. And I think you put one policy together that you're interested in us putting in place, is that correct?
No, I beg your forgiveness. I had planned to, but it's been a crazy week for me, and I didn't get anything right. I beg your forgiveness. We had talked about a few policies,
Yeah.
and I apologize.
You wanna wait till next time and deal with
Yes,
this?
sir. I will
Okay.
put them together.
No
Yes, sir.
problem.
No golf this week.
I'm
Okay.
sorry?
No more golf.
No, I wish it was
All
a
right, we
golf
can deal with that
issue. I
next time.
truly
All
do.
right. Discussion on the sewer bank, then, let's move on to the sewer bank.
Sewer bank, I think, Guy, you were going to get back to us with an actual.
I'm
You gave us some samples, but I think you were going to come back from a month ago with an actual sewer bank, either a policy or a program.
I'm trying to get my bearings. Sewer betterment?
No,
Bank.
the bank.
Sewer bank, okay, yes. I think the question was, I think the issue was the law. I think that was the issue. Is it legal? So I have an article, and that's what I bought. It was in the MMA, I believe it was, Municipal Advocate. It talks about the SJ, and they said absolutely, sewer bank is perfectly legal. But there's some guidelines, so I wanted to share it with our attorney and let town council look at it and then give us better guidance, because the concept of the sewer bank is to facilitate and to finance alleviating infiltration and inflow. So as we talk about moving forward, so let's say, as an example, if we get 100,000 gallons of actual capacity. We bank it, and then it's sold to all these developments. The money goes forward to pay for getting other I&I out to continue moving the town forward. That's all it is. So I'm going to turn this over to the council and let him review it and do his research. And then I think once we get a legal opinion on it, I think that's going to be the base before we do any further discussion on it. Because I think that was the hang-up on the sewer bank was, is it legal? And so I have this article I'll share.
Mr. Bowman, you want to work with Mr. Campina and get back to us next month on this?
I love working with Mr. Campina.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
That's good. All right,
Mr.
so next-
Campina, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you
Okay, go
just
ahead.
have, can you scan that in and email it in to, so that there's a
I
couple
can.
different copies?
I'll scan it and I'll give everybody a copy. Absolutely.
you.
Good idea.
All
I'm
right.
sorry I didn't do it already. Thank you.
No,
Great idea.
thank
I'll get that done.
Good idea. All right, so next up would be the discussion on the onset sewer pipes. We've kind
Yeah,
of
we talked
about this
that. The
already.
26th, we're going to go out there, and what we're doing at this point now, because we have an issue, we've actually taken and cameraed on, we have a little tiny camera that's kind of, and I've actually climbed in, I've got pictures of that, I think I shared it. But we've checked all the piping along the beach from the first road, and forgive me, I think it's called Admiral's Way, all the way down to the end by the inn. Everything is fine. We have a major sand problem from Admiral Way to the parking lot of the Point of Independence Yacht Club. So what we're doing the 26th is that we're going to camera, and I love this camera, we're going to robotic camera, CCTV, from Onset Avenue down the Independence Drive to that manhole to verify that that's all old clay pipe, to make sure we're not getting any sand being pulled down from that area into that main pipe. We believe we're not going to find any, but of course we don't know. That's why we're going to actually look. Then we're going to take and stop pulling the sand out of the asbestos 12-inch pipe along the beach. We're going to do that very carefully with a small jet rodder and a Vector truck, because you're talking asbestos pipe that's been underwater for quite some time that's going to be fragile. So that's going to be a very delicate, intricate job. And so we'll do that. And once we get that done, then we're going to run this robotic camera down that 200 feet of pipe and see exactly what it is. And then we're going to make a decision as to what the fix is
You
going to be.
actually want to stick the jet rod in that pipe?
Yeah, I have to. I don't want to, but here's the problem. That's a 12-inch
what's
pipe
the
that's
risk?
6 inches. The risk, well, what the risk is if we overdo it, I can blow that pipe. But I want to be very clear, because there's a lot of thoughts. We've spent a lot of weeks trying to figure this out. We don't need the pressure. We just need to move water. The problem with asbestos in jet rodding is pressure. They run normally around 2,500 PSI. We're going to run less than 500. All we're going to do is disturb the water and suck it. About 3 weeks ago, we had the same issue. Although it was PVC pipe, we had the same issue in Briarwood. We discovered quite a bit of infiltration. I've got it on video for you. But what happened is that we had all this sand. We took a hose, and we sent this hose all the way down this pipe to remove that sand. So we've actually practiced the process. And so that's how we're going to present to get this done. We're doing it the 26th. So absolutely, it's going to be fragile, but we have no choice but to do it. I'm telling you.
You know that inflow, and you just mentioned inflow at Briarwood Beach.
I
That's
know,
the
absolutely.
newest part of one of the newest parts of our sewer system.
Absolutely. And I want to...
And who put it in? I mean, we should be going after that guy.
I'll get that individual.
He
but
needs
we-
to be
Absolutely.
called back, and he needs to fix where that inflow is.
We had a backup in Briarwood. It was extensive, and we had to clean some homes and all that type of thing. But it's pouring in. It's pouring in. We also have bacteria problems in Briarwood. So one of the things because at the town meeting we're looking to buy our own camera, robotic camera. I'm sorry I don't have a name for it, but it is a robot. It's going to just walk in there and see the pitch. And I'm going to show you the actual videos, and I'll show you that. And what I'm doing right now is I've got engineers quantifying it, what the actual flow rate is. And so I'll show you that and why we want to continue with robotic cameras, because it's cost me up to $400 an hour to rent these foolish things. But nonetheless, yes. And keep in mind that under TR 16, which is the state design guidelines, there's allowable infiltration. They tell you, yes, you're going to put them together, it's going to be tight, but here's how much infiltration you're going to get. It's factored in. this is above and beyond. So when we find it above and beyond, we have to chase it. And we quantify it, and then we make some calculation, is it worth chasing? And then we're gonna do all of Briarwood. Because remember, Briarwood was the same situation done in the water table. The exact same situation.
Yeah,
So-
I know. We really screwed, I guess, really had some issues here because, you know, Marion, they were smart. They right off the bat said, you know what, we're not gonna go digging in the water table. We're gonna go and we're gonna put in pipes and do the pump stations and the lift stations and, you know, on each property and make it work. And of course, over there, they're responsible for the grinder pump. From the pump out is where sewer goes. And we really missed the boat on this. We really did. We got talked into this gravity feed, lift pump stations, you know, the whole 9 yards in these water areas that, you know, I guess we weren't thinking clearly at the time because we all should have known if you put pipes in water, no matter what kind of pipe, there's gonna be problems.
We have chimney issues, and and when it comes from the house chimney into that pipe, we've got tremendous leakage, so we're gonna find all that for you and make some decisions.
You know, it's a shame that we, you know, I feel bad because I think, you know, I feel that I have a little more knowledge of this stuff. And I was here in 2001 and 2 when we set these paces out. Briarwood wasn't even done yet. We decided to get those done. And we got the plans and they were gravity and everybody was, okay, yeah, gung-ho, we're all going for gravity. And I feel sort of like that I missed the boat on this, that I should have done some more homework. I had a little more investigation before we opted for these systems in our area.
Yeah, they're tough areas, and it's costly, because you gotta remove the water to do the insulation. That's costly in itself, just moving water.
Yeah.
Okay, next.
All right, next up is sewer abatements.
I don't have an abatement in front of me, but I know that we had something we had discussed, so I think the board is well aware of what.
I don't think it's in here, is it in here? I got it here. Hold on 1 second. Okay, it's, did you read this guy? This,
No, I have no knowledge of
Can
it.
you get that to Guy for me? Let him read that. It says actually you have a recommendation in here. Right? 15 Lincoln Highway.
That's in, Lincoln Highway is, I believe, in Rose Point. Am I correct? No, Lincoln Highway is in Briarwood. Isn't it in Briarwood, Lincoln Highway? Yes.
Yeah, I think
Yes,
so,
it's
but
all
what's
President's
the,
in there.
what's
It's a
the name of
President's
one,
area.
Lincoln? I think Mark Gifford lives in Lincoln, right?
Can you take us through this cradle to grave?
No, I want to do some research, because what I believe happened here, to be very blunt, is that back when I first came here, and I believe it was in 2010, I brought to this board all the folks who had not connected for whatever reason it was. They just simply didn't connect. And I asked the board if I could bill them, and I thought it'd be wise to bill them for the EDUs that they would have been paying. The board agreed, and so we did that. So I believe it comes under that. And under that, I don't believe I should offer any type of abatement, because the whole idea was you were to pay this out anyways if you had done what you're supposed to do. That was the concept. I think at one time we talked about the legality of it. I know with John, when the selectmen said go ahead and do it, I think it was $22,000. He had a problem with trying to commit it and collect it. So there was a lot of issues. So we never did anything with it. So I would suggest that we ignore this at the time. Ignore is a bad word. But we don't act upon this at the time. Do some more research, because I believe he falls in the category of those who had not connected. I think that's more the issue.
We have a new thing for that, too.
Yes, so I think we're going to address that. So I think That's one of the parts we talked about. And I apologize again, I don't have it in writing, but it'll address this, and I think that's what we need to discuss. So I think we should table this for now and come back to it.
Can you check into that, see if there's an abatement? But none of that is, was there a betterment paid on that piece of property? Because it looks as if that went through a bank or something, bought through a bank sale.
Yes, it was a bank sale. The betterment wasn't his issue, and he may have said a betterment, but it wasn't his issue. He wants an abatement because we charged him EDU money that he felt that we should, because he wasn't connected.
It's not what it says there, though.
I think, again, well, just research, I think that it's misrepresenting what's actually happened.
I just want to make sure an actual
Yes.
betterment's been paid on that piece of property.
I believe it was. All the property was bettered. I'll check it, because it was bank-owned, and again, I'm learning something new about people taking things back and what's really owed and not owed, and so I really can't speak to that. But I will find out and get the actual betterment assessment on this property, because the betterment is something, we're not going to deal with the betterment. I'm going to be very frank. If there's a betterment applied and he owes for that, that's his business, between him and the bank, because if it's owed, it's owed. But I believe my discussion with him was over the charge of sewer usage, and he was upset because he wasn't using sewer. I said, the decision was made to charge you because you refused to connect. And he said, it wasn't me, it was the bank. And I said, well, you own the home. You assume all the liability as well as all the pleasure. So anyways, I will do some greater research on this and get back to you.
Okay, that's the only one I have. It's the only one that came in the packet. Is that the same as this one? I think this is the one. This is Lincoln. Was that Lincoln?
Yes, Lincoln Highway.
Yeah, it's all the same one. It's Lincoln Highway. It's the only one I have. Thank you. For now. There's supposed to be another one, but it's not here. All right, vote on FY15 first half sewer usage commitment.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Clerk, this is the, I hope you have a copy. If you don't, I have one here. I thought they gave you one.
Right here.
Okay. We're moving forward the first half billing for fiscal 2015. We're ready to get the bills out. We're also going to include in the billing, we talked about third-party billing and all some other things, and I think I showed Selectman Tropiano that letter. I will email it to everybody so you can have it. And what we're saying to folks is that we have a lot of third-party billing. Could you bill my tenant? Could you bill? So we're not doing that any longer. And so we're going to put it with these bills so that doesn't happen. I'm also going to put some of the things that talk about rags, what we call rags, non-flushables, so we're going to stuff it. But we're getting the bills ready to go out, and we want to hit the street as early as possible in a timely manner to give the ratepayers time to pay it before they start getting hit with their October bills. So I'm asking the board to move this bill forward.
Billing is based on the EDU that we have in place as of now?
Correct.
Please, all right, I move we approve the FY15 first half sewer user fee, the amount of $2,726,235.12.
Second.
Any discussion? None heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 300.
Next up is CWMP, change to the comprehensive wastewater management plan.
Mr. Titlebaum?
Yes?
And Mr. Campino?
Yeah.
You want to discuss this one?
Yeah, just briefly, there's another placeholder warrant article that I filed on behalf of the board with our office on Friday. We're going to work with town council, and I guess you, obviously, to figure out what the language is. The board did receive your, I guess you've been working with DEP on language with them. My only reservation with that is there are a couple of outside groups named in this that are not the town of Wareham and are not the DEP. And I got to be blunt, this town over the past 15 years has done more to protect groundwater in Buzzards Bay, to protect seawater in Buzzards Bay than any other community, notwithstanding the fact that we're the second poorest community along Buzzards Bay. And, you know, if outside groups are happy with what we do, that's great. If they're not happy with what we do, I don't particularly care. So I don't know that they're, maybe from the DEP guy's point of view, this is important. From mine, it isn't.
I think there's only one group, in my opinion, as I read this, because when you talk about the MEPA, when you talk about MEP, Master Accessory Program, when you talk about these programs, they're in place no matter what we do. So I think, I'm going to tell you the gist of this letter so you understand it. What I asked the DEP, the simple question I asked them, is it better to modify existing or to cancel and move forward with another one? What this letter is saying is that if you cancel and move forward another one, it's going to be extensive, costly, and very time consuming.
I get that. It's going to be it'll be a multi-year process. So what they're saying is go ahead and modify what you have.
That's right. That's all it is.
Take out what you want to take out, put in what you want to put
Absolutely.
in. And that's fine.
That's all I'm saying.
That's all. If that's all the backup you need from them as a justification for going
Yes.
forward with this, then I would suggest, from my point of view, that's what you need to obtain from them, and that's it. I don't think we need any more information than that.
Okay. That's the whole purpose.
This goes back to when we met with DEP. You and I went down there and sat and talked to them, and they were, I believe the administrator was changing it that week, was
Yes, sir.
retiring.
Yes, sir. You're
And
absolutely right.
I forget the woman's
Mr.
name.
Keith, and I forget what's her
There's a
name.
woman who was
I
taking over.
apologize, and we met her, so I apologize.
But they were very clear that we could sit and modify the existing plan,
Yes.
and basically contract 3, we could put that off, and we could go to other areas, and they actually had areas they'd like to see us go to. And they
Yes.
also were going to allow us to go over Route 25,
Correct.
which means we could possibly do something up on the Plymouth line as well.
So
in a joint
it's
project.
it's a very, very fruitful meeting, and I thank you for coming, and so it just gives us better direction, and that's all we're trying to do.
And just let me add that I'm grateful that DEP is showing flexibility in this, because let's face it, they are sort of, they're our daddy when it comes to these things, and they don't have to be flexible if they don't want to be. So I am,
You're absolutely
please
right.
convey the fact that and I think the board's appreciative that they are willing to work with us to revise this to make it more sensible for everybody.
Have they given us a time frame when they're going to come up with some numbers for the communities along Buzzards Bay, and TLDs and stuff?
Yeah, June.
June?
It's-
We have any idea what that's going to be?
We don't, and they don't even know. We had a couple drafts up, but the total daily maximum loading is going to be critical to us, and so everybody's eagerly waiting for that number, because it's going to impact a lot of our decisions we make as to what we're going to sewer and how we're going to move forward as a community, because it's not going to be all sewing. There's going to be septic issues. Again, it's going to bring in stormwater, because that's all loading. And so, yeah, we don't have, once we get that, then we can make some better decisions. But again, I got to say this, at that meeting, and the DEP is impressed, because, we, as a town, we've been very proactive, but we came forward, and your presence there, solidified that commitment. And so they're willing to work with us because we are willing to work with them. So I want to say, and thank you for going, but they're just saying, yes, the Agawam River, we know, the Webiantic, we know, the Wareham River, we know, and those areas that we should really look at, and I think we all agreed on that.
So I'm very concerned, because depending what they do with numbers, it could be devastating to the town of Wareham.
Absolutely.
And you probably will see me go to jail because I'll say no with the mandates that they're going to come at us with.
And I understand, and I truly understand that, and I think, again, we can say no nicely, we can say no politically, we can say no, and maybe even have them looking forward to the no, but I think we'll address it in such a way that, yes, we are economically depressed, and we do have concerns with water. We've proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that this town has made a commitment to our waterways, and we'll continue to do that as we're able to afford it. And I think if we present it in that tone, I think I really believe that they're willing to work with us.
If you have the information available, could you make it available to the board so they understand what we're talking about?
Okay.
When you use synonyms and stuff, people don't understand what it really is.
Yeah, I do that too much, and I certainly
We all do that.
apologize. But when I say meeple, I do. I apologize.
Bless
So
you.
I will.
But this is a serious issue, because
Yes, it
they
is.
set certain numbers on certain parts of the vineyard, Nantucket, and some of the Cape areas, which is, on some areas of the Cape, some of these numbers are causing betterment fees projected out of $75,000 to $125,000 per household.
Absolutely.
So I
They're
just wanna-
telling us that it's a daily loading, a maximum of nutrients. Nitrogen is the biggest
Yep.
to the bay. That's it. And so Wareham is going. They're doing a study. They're going to say, Wareham, this is your bay. This is all you're allowed to put. Oh, you're way over. Then you need to give us a plan how you're going to get down to the acceptable numbers. And so we're waiting for that, because that number is a scary number. And I agree with you, because I don't feel we should jump through more hoops, to many hoops, until we understand what those numbers are. The revision of the CMWP is just so we can bring that to to an end.
That's two different things, really.
Yeah, two different things, but you're right, the total maximum daily loading is huge. And we've all been on pins and needles for years. When I was on the Board of Health,
This has been coming for a long time.
years, yes, and so the anxiety and anticipation is crazy, and they need to bring this to a close. Give us some hard numbers, so as a community, we can make some real, honest decisions, and, because it's gonna affect everybody. Every single member of this community will be affected.
This is the one time where having 54 miles of coastline is not a help.
It's not it's not the best thing, absolutely.
Just one more point. We're going to need, as selectmen, we're going to need to close the warrant out by September 13th.
Okay.
So that means that we're going to have, and we vote each individual article upon the warrant. We're going to need to have something more than a placeholder in time, I would say, by the 9th.
We closed it on the 16th.
We're going to close on the 16th. Is my math off? Because we 27th, so we need 14 more days. Yeah, I guess we're just on the 16th. That'll work.
9th of September, sir? 9th of
9th
September?
to the 16th. What's your pleasure for having? The 16th would be the regular sewer meeting for the month,
We're going to start reviewing.
but we're going to be doing. I'm sure we're going to be stuck doing other stuff that night
Well,
too.
basically what we're doing between the next week and the 16th is voting whether or not to put articles, to approve articles going on the warrant.
Right.
There should be very few issues on that, and then that's it closes. And then after that, we come back over the next month or so and go over the articles and vote yes or no.
Well, the favorable actions, yeah, but what I'm talking about is just getting the article, the warrant itself posted, because these placeholders aren't going to suffice for proper notice on the warrant.
We've basically got the 26th, the 9th, and the 16th.
Right.
And if we fall behind, I'll probably schedule another meeting of the board strictly to deal with this.
That's
before
fine, but I just wanted Mr. Campina to know that we're going to need to really see him again and we're going to have to work with him to develop the actual articles.
I've already spoke to Mr. Sullivan about, he'll be here. Where he has a department head needed, because he can't explain the article, then he'll have a department head here,
Okay.
wherever possible.
Right.
And we only have a couple, I think we have CEC and CPC are the only committees I think we may have to have before us.
Yeah, you might want to do them next week. Get that out of the way. They already sent in revisions to the latest ones that I think took care of the placeholder matters, so we might want to think about that.
I'll try and get them with our own that we have submitted, to try and get those done as well.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anything else?
All right, any other sewer business not reasonably anticipated in the last 48 hours?
No, the only thing that I spoke to the town administrator earlier about it is that we've got some unforeseen expenses that have cropped on us, and I'm getting some hard numbers, and we'll bring it to the board, because I believe in our budget, approved at town meeting, there's $150,000 for unforeseen, and so we're doing some covers and things that happened to us. 12th Street's got to be done, we're doing Gibbs Ave and some other things. So I want to put a hard number to it, and then bring it to Mr. Sullivan, you can bring it to the board, so we can transfer money over, because these are definitely unforeseen expenses.
Unforeseen or emergency?
No, I'm going to call them unforeseen. Emergencies are a little different. I mean, if I don't do these things, an example, with Gibbs Ave, we're going to do that road, so I've got some bad covers out there. So once he paves it, I can't touch them. These covers are loose. They become a danger, not emergency, but they become a hazard. So it makes sense to replace them now. I didn't put that in the budget, unforeseen. So these are the type of things that I'm talking about. I'll get a handle of it, get it to Mr. Sullivan, get his guidance, and then we can bring it to
Yeah,
him.
we have the line in there, extraordinary and unforeseen, and just on that's already been voted on, but on a extra layer of protection just for the residents and the sewer fees payers, we ask that the sewer commissioner vote the money out of that fund.
I thought we had money this way. Thank you.
And that's all I have, so thank you so much.
All right, thanks.
Thanks for all your time.
Thank you, appreciate
Looks
it.
like you need some sleep.
I'm good, yes.
Next, town business, any other town business not reasonably anticipated in the last 48 hours? Mr. Titlebaum?
Nah.
Myself, no. Mr. Chairman. All right, next is the town administrator's report, please.
I am going to keep it short tonight and just hold off on this because really, most of the stuff we've been going through has been all the sewer items
Yeah,
tonight,
yeah.
so we're
Okay.
bogged down on these.
All right, liaison reports.
Mr.
Mr.
Titlebaum.
Titlebaum.
I'm actually trying to think if I don't think I really have anything to report.
Okay,
Honest with you.
and you've heard all my stuff already tonight, so
Yeah.
we can move on from me, and it'll be up to you, Mr. Slavin.
No, I'm all set, thank you.
All right, consent agenda, I have nothing for that.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Ellen, second by Peter. All those in favor?
Aye.
300. Thank you all. Have a good night.